Hello, guys, and welcome to the Spotlight Show, where we put a spotlight on social, economic, and in extension, political issues that are affecting the young people with an aim of informing and inspiring them, and that is you and I. But let's get this straight from the onset that our time as the young people is now. And on our maiden show today, we will be discussing three issues. That is the impeachment. We have the reopening, and lastly, we will be talking about Kazi Mtaani. And joining me on set is a very good friend of mine and a political analyst in his own right, Mr. Vincent Aket. How have you been, bro?
Good, bro. How are you?
I'm very fine. It's been a long time.
The last time we did this.
I think it was in Campus.
Do we speak to them?
No. Let's not go there.
Great.
But let's get to the heart of the matter. Three issues are on the table for discussion. Impeachment, it is, Kazim Taani, and the reopening. Let us begin with the impeachments. Last week it was Kaloki Ngilu's head that was on the chopping table, and then we had Waiguru. Your opening thoughts?
I like how you moved from the east to the central parts of Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that has been provided for in the Constitution. Article 181 spells out that a governor, again, can be impeached. And it's the same thing spells out the procedure written in the County Government Act, Section 33 of 2012. And this is something that we anticipate. Mm-hmm. I must say that they are not the last ones, mm-hmm. but they must be the last ones.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that is very interesting is that in this country we cannot talk about the impeachment process without mentioning politics. And there has been a pervasive notion amongst the political class that the laws in this country exist to, wash the feet of the politicals. And that brings me to my third point about political protocol. And so that if the impeachments are not constitutional, it's not about the constitution, it's about politics. To some extent, then you get the feeling that our top politicals in this country are abetting corruption for political grace to abide. And it is important for me to set this straight, that when I look at the impeachment of Baba Yao, I think it was hatched and executed in the high political balconies of this country. But let us go now to perhaps the substance of this impeachment and the grounds of this impeachment, perhaps as a point of information to the young people. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the impeachments as are now, they are ridiculous, because if you look at the provisions, the ground on Article 181 of the Kenyan Constitution 2010, then you just go direct to the County Government Act 2012, you will see that impeachments are possible. But now, how we are doing it right now, they are ridiculous. I'm saying they are ridiculous for one reason, that we cannot substantiate mm-hmm. the allegations. Mm-hmm. So for me, that would be a standard take.
That's very interesting. I think for me, what I would want to add on your statement is that it is very interesting. In this country, politics and impeachment, I mean, they are synonymous. You cannot talk about politics, impeachment, without talking about politics. Yeah. And that brings the issue of political protocol. And there is this pervasive notion by the politicals of this country that our laws of this country, or rather the Constitution, exists to, or rather subsists to cleanse their feet, which is a little bit unfortunate. From where I sit, the politicals in this country have come to a point whereby it is all about we, and not about our Constitution. But let's take this conversation forward, and let's talk about now the grounds of impeachment. From where you sit, what is your reading of all this?
Well, remember, if we go back to Article 181 of the Constitution and just go at one, the Roman number 1, you will see the 4 grounds in which a governor can be impeached. They can be impeached for gross misconduct. They can be impeached for not following the rule of law. They can be impeached on the grounds of health matters. But now, what we are seeing as of now, it's only focused on one. Point number 1A, not following the rule of law.
Okay, not following the rule of law. Yeah. If you come to the County Government Acts, again, there are some sticky points. And number 1 is the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. We have the Public Finance and Management Act. We have issues of procurement, and also we have issues of meddling in the public-private partnerships by the county bosses. Again, let's further the discussion. Ask ourselves why are these impeachments defeated when they are brought to the House of the Senate or even in the courts?
Well, I'd like to start from how the past ones have happened. I'd like to start going down to Nyeri, Embu, Kirinyaga, then come up to Kiambu, go east to Kitui. And one thing you'll realize, the reason why they are being defeated when they reach the floor in the Senate House is, remember, the Senate is a quasi-judicial chamber. They are allowed to try to try the allegations. They are not only allowed to prosecute, but to try. But remember, they cannot prosecute something that is not weighty, something that cannot be substantiated. And you see what happened with the issue about the Kirinyaga impeachment is that the MCAs could not really substantiate the allegations. So I think that's the main problem we are facing with impeachments.
And just to add to what you're saying, is there is a problem with these impeachment motions that are being brought. Why? Because they are not meeting the constitutional threshold. Yeah. It is incumbent on the accusers to be able to prove their case, whether at the Senate or at any court hearing. But again, let us now further this discussion and ask ourselves, and this is from a point of observation, what is this antagonism that we are seeing in our counties between the members of county assemblies and our governors?
I must agree with you. There's something wrong with procurement when it goes to the county level, because the governors, the MCAs are not agreeing, yet the procedures are clearly set out what should happen. The governors, some governors, as per what we are being told by the MCAs, are not following the procedures. But also there are some MCAs, maybe they might not be understanding the procedures. So I'd really call a linkage between the MCAs and the governors, because the bone of contention here is procurement procedures. Once we can sort out the procurement procedures, transparency, honesty, and everything like that, I think we won't be having any of this impeachment. But again, the president just signed the recall bill for the MCAs. I don't know, how would you take that in line with impeaching a governor?
You know, I think that's a very, very timely bill right now, because again, one of the things I believe the MCAs also need, somebody who checks them as they also check the governors, because I think for theirs is raw and unchecked power. Now, let me just highlight something about the MCAs. Look, their attempt at sanitizing our counties will always fail, because they always, or their hands are bloodied. Number two, again, the governors, in their defense, they have come out saying that there is a lot of malice, there is a lot of greed, there is a lot of party politics and succession politics.
Wait, if I may interject you.
Yes.
Do you think the MCAs have anything to fear about right now, that they can be recalled?
Yes. They should be afraid. They should be afraid, because before there was no legal framework. But now with this bill that has been assented to by the president, there is a legal framework for any constituents of wards to lobby and recall their members of parliament. So again, it creates a balance, in my view, which is very, very necessary in the assemblies. Lastly, so we can finalize on these issues of impeachment, what are the solutions? What is the way forward?
Let the petitions meet constitutional thresholds. Once all these have been met, let's apply the 1/3 rule where it should be applied. Let us apply the 2/3 rules when it should be applied. And let us also, when it goes to the Senate, as I said before, this is a quasi-judicial chamber. Let us substantiate the allegations.
All right. Yeah. I think for me, lastly, is there needs to be goodwill from the top politicals of this country. That is number one. Number two, we need to see some seriousness in the oversight roles. So in terms of when this impeachment comes to the Senate, we need to see some seriousness, and seriousness here means also impartiality. Thirdly, and very importantly, we need to strengthen our institutions. I was very impressed last week. I think it was Justice Korir, who gave conservatory orders when Gilu applied to have, her motion, impeachment motion, not debated. That was a thumbs up, and it tells us that our institutions are definitely growing up. And lastly, it is to us, the Wanjiko. We are the ones who keep on electing these people. It is about time we start electing, or rather going to elections with our heads and perhaps not our hearts. And with that, we have come to the end of our impeachment discussion, and we want to move right along.
Thank you for that. That was great.
So let's discuss about the reopening of the economy. I mean, your opening thoughts. Is it timely? Is it a miscalculation? Or is it all the above?
This is what we call situation 22. I think it has its merits and its demerits. Not opening the economy. We don't want families to die of hunger. But again, we are risking the spread of the virus, which brings us back, in the words of the President, His Excellency, that it's now time that each and every individual be responsible of your action. Be responsible of your family, be responsible of the young and the elder. It's back to us. So we just have to deal with it the way it comes.
All right.
Yep.
From where I sit, I think, number one, it was a thoughtful policy from the President and his team. Why? Because there was a group that was economically disadvantaged, really were at pains to even put food on their table. Number two, again, I say this because it was a catch-22 situation for him, trying to reconcile and balance between lives on one side and livelihoods. And that is with respect to the rising numbers or the rising cases of the COVID-19. So it is a necessary move, again, I must say, because our economy, the reality of our economy is that it is very fragile and it cannot handle very heavy shocks. But I want us to proceed forward with the discussion and talk about what is the meaning. We have reopened the economy. The numbers keep increasing. What does this mean for us or for our country?
Well, we are at more risk because once the numbers don't go up, remember right now we are at over 11,000 infections. 209 people have died. Mathematically, that's 1.9% fatality rate. And if we go the next 4 months, we will be at 10% fatality rate. This thing is eating our people. It's re-eating our country. But now if we follow the Ministry of Health, which I think are doing a very good job, if we follow the governmental guidelines, I think we can salvage some of us.
Well, for me, I think it's number one. I want to look at it four quick points on this one. Number one, it is a health-wise, it is a wake-up call, for us to be creative and be innovative. For the young people who have lost their jobs, it is time for us to start thinking about how can we help them start their own businesses. And for the businesses that are already existing, how can we help them remodel? And this is for the economy. Health-wise, I think we are not sitting pretty as a country because now we have to become responsible not only for ourselves, but also for others. Now, again, from my observation, we cannot leave this responsibility to the police because of issues of lack of capacity and issues of perhaps lack of morality. When you're talking about issues of laws, it is very unfortunate when we are in a country where there is seemingly two laws. On one side, the government saying there should not be any political gatherings, and yet we are seeing politicians disregarding the same law. And for us as Kenyans, what does this mean? It means that the opening does not mean that we are out of the woods yet. It would be very unfortunate for us or for any one of us to perish because of ignorance. Right, so what is the place of the young people in all this?
Well, I'd like to look at it in two ways. It's time for us to develop. Remember, our hospital need beds, and I'd like to applaud the young man who is now has now received a tender by the national government to provide up to 500 beds at a cost of 65,000. That is an incredible job. We have people who are innovating different things, different applications. So right now, it's the time for the youth really to sit down. It's time we build our industrial sector. And this is an opportunity that each and every one of us should take advantage of and build the tomorrow that we all want to see.
I think for me, my concluding remarks will be, number one, it is very important for the young people to understand where we are and also to engage their local leadership. Why? Because this disease is being treated at our local stations. When you get sick in Homa Bay, you will not be brought to Nairobi. Lastly, it is very important to remind the young people, let us follow the guidelines, and Kenyans at large, mask up, sanitize, and keep a social distance. And lastly, I have no doubts that we will bounce back as a country much stronger and much better, and I can't wait for that.
That's all we had for the show today. Remember to share, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you'll be the first one to get our next show. Remember, you're only young ones, so be wise.